So this is question 11, Higher Paper 1, 2011, to do with integrating. So we're integrating a number times the power of x plus another power of x. So the rule to recall is what happens when we integrate a power of x. And the basic rule says you look at the power and increase it. Integration, increase, differentiation, decrease. That's the way to remember it. So integration, increase this by 1 and then divide by the new index. And don't forget the plus c at the end of it. If there so happens to be a number at the front, which there is here, but that's a 1. It looks like there isn't a number, there's 1 times. But this is a 4, so in here there's a 4, let's call it A for the formula, and that just sits there. It makes not a jot of difference, so it just appears as it was. So this appears as a 4. X to the add 1 to a half. We don't write 1 and a half, we'd write a half plus 2 halves. 3 halves, we'd write that as 3 halves, top heavy fraction, divided by the new power, the new index, which is 3 over 2. So we increase and divide, increase and divide. Plus, we'll come back to this and simplify it in a minute. Again, here we go, x increase by 1. Now don't make the mistake of writing a minus 4 there. If you're increasing by 1 on the number line, you're adding, you're moving to the right, so minus 3, minus 2, there's minus 1, 0. So add 1 to minus 3, you get minus 2, and divide by the new index. Don't forget your plus c at the end, the constant of integration. Now this needs tidied. It's a bit of a mess. Let's just take a closer look at this. The messy bit in this fraction is the divide by 2 down here. Now you know in fractions you're allowed to double top and bottom, so dividing by 2, the opposite would be multiplying by 2. If we double the bottom of this fraction, so long as we balance it by doubling the top, we're okay. Now that would produce an 8, and the x to the 3 over 2 is unaffected by that, divided by, and this of course is why we did that, to get rid of the divide by 2, and you're left with a 3. Let's move on to this one. This minus, the whole of this fraction becomes a negative. If you add a negative, it's like subtracting. So it'd be minus, and we've got minus x to minus 2 over 2. So this fraction with the negative there, the top of the fraction is a positive number. That doesn't make the fraction negative, that's a negative index, but if there was a negative at the front it would be negative. So this is a positive divided by a negative, which produces a negative fraction. It's like, for instance, if we had 1 over minus 2, you'd get negative 1/2 as the result of that. So it's a negative or minus this fraction plus your constant. Now, other ways of writing this, if you take a fraction a over 3, for instance, dividing something by 3 is finding a third of it, and twice a divided by 3 would be 2/3 of a, etc. So an alternative way of writing this would just be the fraction 8/3 times x over x to the power 3 over 2. And also dividing by 2 is similar to this. If we had a divided by 2, it's the same as finding a half of a. So there's a fraction, we're subtracting a fraction which is a half of x to the minus 2. So that's just an alternative way of dividing by 2 is finding a half of it, or multiplying by 8 and dividing by 3 is finding 8/3 of something. So there is the final answer, and let's just find out what the choices are. Let's glance down them. There we go. 8/3 x to the 3/2 minus f half x to the minus 2 plus your constant of integration. So it's choice D. Let me write that. Choice D.